Hello everybody and welcome to Space Engineers. I wanted to start a tutorial series on how to play the game, and I wanted to start with production, a general overview of it. So let's get right into it. So when you first start, whether you start on Earth or in space or wherever in your pod, you're going to have a survival kit. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's small or large grid, your survival kit is where you recharge your health, oxygen, power, and hydrogen. It's where you respawn if you get killed, and it's where you produce your first components. So in order to do this, you can either walk up to the conveyor on the side or the computer screen and press K to bring up your control panel. As you can see, it requires 15 kilowatts to run properly. Well, to run in the background it requires 15, and then it requires 200 kilowatts to produce things. So when you're first starting out, you should have that already. You should have a battery that's more than capable of taking care of anything. And when you go to production, this is what you should see. Now, in the inventory of this survival kit, I'm going to place some stone that I just mined. Let's place 300 stone, and the way I'm doing this, so I use my hand drill and I drilled and got some stone, and I can click and drag. I can left click and drag and put all of it in there, or I can right click and drag and specify how much I want to put. So let's put 300. So now we'll go to production and let's produce 3 ingots. We have enough for 3 ingots, and that is going to give us gravel, iron, nickel, and silicon. And as you can see, these components have now lit up because we have enough resources to produce them. The other stuff we don't. So it's going to take a lot of stone to get started, so you're going to be mining with your hand drill for quite a while if you're just starting out, so just be aware of that. But this is what stone gives you. No matter what you do with it, it's going to give you iron, nickel, silicon, and gravel. And you're able to produce basic components with them, such as steel plates, construction components, computers, things of that nature. And that's enough to get you started. You can't build any batteries and you can't build any cockpits or anything, but it is enough to get you off the ground so that you can build better component producing machines such as the basic assembler and the basic refinery, so that you can really get base building. So that's an overview of the survival kit. And in my opinion, the first thing you're going to want to build is the basic assembler, which you build with components straight out of the survival kit: steel plates, computers, displays, motors. And in my opinion, this is the first thing you should build, because your basic refinery is not going to really help you out that much in the first few minutes that you're playing. You want to get the basic assembler, and I'll show you why. So if I bring up production and I go to the basic assembler, you can see there's a lot more components you can produce. And one of the most important is power cells, so that you can get batteries going. Also, you can produce magazines if you can find magnesium, so you can defend yourself. Metal grids if you find cobalt, so that you can make cargo containers, and so you can build a larger assembler and refinery. And especially large steel tubes, so you can build a drill on some kind of craft, whether it's a rover or some kind of flying vehicle. So that's very, very important. The basic assembler is the first step. So next you have your basic refinery, and let me go ahead and give an overview of the ores before I go any further. So you mine stone to start with. It's basic in the ground or an asteroid, and that's going to give you iron, nickel, and silicon. You can also find specifically iron, nickel, and silicon ores in patches, and it's just going to give you concentrate of that particular material. And then you have ice, which you put in an H2O2 generator to give you oxygen and hydrogen, which I will show you in a moment. And then you have your other ores, which I'll go ahead and list for you right here. And these ores are, in no particular order, magnesium, platinum, gold, silver, uranium, and cobalt. Magnesium helps you produce stuff like ammunition and missiles. Platinum helps you produce stuff like thrusters. Gold helps you produce things like superconductors for your jump drive. Silver helps you produce medical components so you can make new survival kits in medical rooms. Uranium is for powering your reactors. And cobalt is for building stuff like metal grids so that you can have cargo containers and the large refinery and assembler and things of that nature. And you need a mix of different ones of these for the different tiers of tools that you can produce. So that's just a general overview of the ores. And your basic refinery will refine stone, magnesium, and cobalt. It won't refine the other ores. So just keep that in mind. The survival kit only does stone, and the basic refinery does stone, cobalt, and magnesium. If you want to refine silver and uranium and all that good stuff, you're going to need the full-size refinery, which takes a significant amount of resources, as you can see. And if you want to produce things like reactors, you're going to need a full-size assembler, which again takes a significant amount of components. You're going to have to find cobalt, things of that nature. But when you eventually do build the assembler, you can build everything in the game. You can produce superconductors, thruster components, missiles, gravity components. You can build artificial gravity, reactor components. Anything you can think of, you can build once you're in a position. And then this is what the refinery looks like. Right here, you have places for your ores and places for everything that it refines. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this stone in here just to show you what it does. It's going to sit here and refine this. And keep in mind that the efficiency goes up as you increase too. You have the survival kit, it's not very efficient, it's not very fast. The basic refinery is much faster, it's much more efficient, and then the refinery is even more efficient and faster once you place modules on it, which I'll explain modules in a second. So I put the stone in here. You get gravel, iron, nickel, and silicon. And if you put any other ore in here, that's how it's going to look. And then you use this to produce components. So I'm going to go ahead and make, I don't know, 10 steel plates. And the components will automatically go through to the other side. They are connected here. There's a conveyor. I'll go to the other side so you can see it real quick. On the opposite side, there's a conveyor there. So the assembler is hooked up. It automatically drew those resources that it needed, and then it produced these steel plates. And that's how it works. So you'll have to mine, and it's much better to use a vehicle with a drill to drill into things. It goes so much faster. You get so much progress much faster with that. It's highly recommended. Even on a server where the speed multipliers are increased, such as welding, grinding, drilling, all those things. Well, not necessarily drilling, but refining and assembling and all of that. It's just a much better idea to use the bigger and better stuff, or to use the drills themselves, including welders and grinders that can attach the ships. So this is what the assembler does, and that's what the refinery does, and it's all basically the same for all of these. You put in ores or stone, and they poop out basic materials, which you then refine into components. The full-size assembler is also capable of disassembling components into things. So if I tell it to disassemble these steel plates, it's going to turn it back into iron ingots. So that's something interesting. Also, one thing I wanted to go over real quick that I put in the cargo container is scrap metal. If you take scrap metal, which if you crash into something or if you get shot up, it's going to produce floating scrap metal. And you can take this scrap metal and you can throw it into the refinery, and it's actually going to produce iron from that. You're going to get resources back out of that. Not necessarily what you put in, but you will get something back. So that is something worth noting. And let's see here. Also, the H2O2 generator, very important. That's what's responsible for producing your oxygen and hydrogen. Your survival kit will give it to you, but you need something to produce it. So you move ice over into the H2O2 generator. I'll put 200 in there. As you can see, it actually can hold quite a bit, and it'll sit there and produce oxygen and hydrogen as needed. I do recommend, if you're not actually using it, that you shut it off, because it does use power. So you can do that from the control panel here. Take the generator, turn it off. And if you're just starting out in your pod, that will prolong your battery life by a lot if you're not actively using your generator. So yeah, that's a nutshell everything. Make sure that your conveyors are connected. The basic assembler only has a conveyor on one side. It is connected. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that too while I'm here. So as you can see, the basic refinery is here, and then if I press G and I bring up my toolbar configuration menu and I go to the search bar and type in assembler, I can take the basic assembler, click and drag down to my toolbar, and now I have the basic assembler. I'm in creative, so it gets built right away. If you're in survival, obviously you'll have to weld all the components together, but you can place it anywhere where you have room. So what I want to do, use my page up and page down keys to rotate it around and find out where I'm happy with it. So I want these conveyors to line up. It doesn't matter if one's vertical and one's horizontal as long as they're together. And then you place it together, weld it up until it's working, and it should work. It should all be connected and work out just fine. And oh, one last thing, the modules. So you have 3 modules. You have the speed module, the yield module, and the power efficiency module. So the speed module makes things twice as fast, but it uses twice as much power. The yield module increases how much you get out of each ore. You would be surprised how little ingots you get out of certain ores, especially platinum and uranium. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. And then the power efficiency module brings that consumption back down. So definitely you want to use a mix of these. And that's basically it. So that's a quick overview of production. This is everything that you would need in survival. And enjoy, have fun, and welcome to Space Engineers.